Welcome to Tools to Make Your Life Easier. Here at 2020, we offer tools to make space planning, specification, and visualization easier. For space planning, we offer three tools: 2020 CAP, which is our AutoCAD-based application; 2020 Giza, which is our non-AutoCAD-based application; and our latest product offering is 2020 CAP Complete. 2020 CAP Complete offers all of the functionality that you would enjoy today in 2020 CAP, but 2020 CAP Complete has an integrated CAD engine. It does not require AutoCAD to be used. All three tools use the same specification, 2020 worksheet, as well as 2020 visual impression. In this video, I will show you how to work with all three tools in a seamless fashion. I'll be working in 2020 CAP. In this video, I'll be using 2020 CAP as our example tool. I'm going to actually start with a blank drawing. Within all applications, you have access to the same content. So there's going to be a little over 170 different manufacturers that you're going to have access to. So I'm going to actually start by using a generic catalog as we walk through this. I'm going to be using our DMO catalog. Typically what I'm going to do is you're going to select down that manufacturer. Once you select that manufacturer, then you're going to see all available catalogs. You select the catalog that you're looking for, and then basically what you're doing at this point is simply stepping through a table of contents. So I'm just going to go in here and select an object, and we'll do 66 high with 24 wide. I'm going to left click, hold it down, drag, and drop. Once you place a panel or a frame, the panel placer tool, if automation is available, will activate. So I can then go in and choose a different size, and then use the panel placer to help me place the parts. Let me zoom out here a little bit. We'll do one more, and we'll make our turn. One more. We'll go back to a 24, and we're done. Now, I talked a little bit about automation. Automation, as I said, exists in all three tools. So in order to access automation, I'll switch over to the 2020 Office toolbar and go to the Automation Center. Within my Automation Center, I can then check to see which manufacturer I'm working with here. So if I just right-click, we're working with the DMO catalog. So a few things I can do here. I can run auto hardware. I can also set the preferences for the connectors that are going to be placed. If I want to run auto hardware, I'm simply going to window the area that I want connectors to be placed, and it automatically places the connectors for me. Now, if I'm using a frame and tile system, as I did here, 2020 CAP offers a panel builder tool. The panel builder tool allows me to configure my empty frame. So I'm going to go in here and pick a base frame. Left click, drag and drop. And then once I have selected the frame, then I can come in here and select tiles. So if I just want, say, a standard tile, I want it to be 24 high, I'm simply going to drag and drop. I can obviously configure side 1 or side 2 differently, so I'm just going to do the same on this. And let's just do one more 24. I'm going to grab that 24 again, and I'm going to drag and I'm going to drop it where it needs to be, and then I'm going to go to glass, and let's just do a 12 high on here. Now, to show you something here, because it's glass, it's actually going to apply obviously on side 1 and side 2. Now let's delete this for a minute. Like I said, I'm going to right click to delete it. If I were to try to put the 24 on here, because this is all rules based, it is going to tell me that I am not allowed to put that on the frame. So let's just go ahead and do the 12 because we know that works. And then what I do is I'm going to save this. So I'm going to save this into what we call a custom catalog, and that custom catalog is going to allow me to reuse these configurations, because once you build them, you can use them over and over in different projects. So let's just go ahead and create a new custom catalog, and I'm going to give it a name. Let's just call it a 66, and I'm using a standard tile, and a glass tile. I can also give it a longer description so I know a little bit more about it, and I'm simply going to say OK. And it's automatically going to create the panel configs for every width that is available. So when I go ahead and say OK here, let's just go ahead and close out a panel builder. We should see our drawing behind us. And then the way that I work with this to apply tiles to those frames is I go to my Projects tab. And within my Projects tab, I'm going to just refresh this. Let's see our webinar CC4 here, and here's our panel config. So how do I apply the panel config once it's created? I simply drag the panel configuration over. I'm going to select all the objects that I want the panel config applied to and say OK. Now let's take a look at the panel configuration to make sure that it looks good. So I'm going to go to my tools here, and I'm going to convert this from plan to 3D. So I'm just going to go to my view and go to my 3D view, and let's just try one of these. Then when I hide it, you should see connectors and my panel config. Okay, we'll change our view back to plan view. And then we'll go ahead and convert this from 3D back to plan. Okay, I'm going to go back to my content tab, and let's just go ahead and turn this off, put this away, and take a look at a couple other things. So once I go back into systems, let's go to a work surface for an example. I'm going to go to a rectangular one. We need a 24 deep, and I do believe I'm working with a 42 wide. So let's take the 42. As I said, left click, hold down, drag, and drop. Everything has a node, so it will snap by node. So once I have my design done, what is my next step? We'll want to generate a bill of materials from here, because every part that we place inside of the drawing has cat part information on it. When I generate it, as I said, it's going to have a part number and a part description. So as I go ahead and do this, we're going to go ahead and generate a worksheet. So we're going to go just here to worksheet and tell it to create a worksheet. We're going to need to save this for a second. And once I save it, we're going to go ahead and select next. We're going to do all objects, next. It's going to create the bill of materials, or the worksheet is going to be the same name as my drawing. And when I select next, it's going to count, consolidate all like items, and update against current pricing that you have installed. So when I select finish, you'll see a worksheet up here. So we're going to go over here to worksheet. So here's our worksheet file. As I said, counts, consolidates. We use panel configs in here. So you will see that the blue lines are your panel configurations. It doesn't at this level show me every part and piece that's in there, but you can see I have 42 wide and 2 24 wide, which we did. All of our connectors are consolidated. And if I want to look at what's part of the panel configuration, all I do is step in, and here is everything that's available with that panel config. Now I'm going to step back out and show you just a few things here. So worksheet is your specification tool. So first things first, I want to specify. So how does this all work? We have set templates that apply every time you generate a bill of materials. So there's certain columns that are going to be available to you. If I actually click on a column heading and I go to customize columns, you're going to see that there is a ton of available columns for you to choose from. Now, I can customize these columns so that they can actually say something different than what is there by default. I can also create templates. So by creating a template, I can use these templates to automatically turn on and off columns as I want them to be. So if I go into something like a managed template, I can create a brand new template here, give it a name, go in and check certain columns on. I can also set it as default. Once I set as default, every time I generate a bill of materials from a drawing, it's going to have those default columns on. Or if I start a worksheet from scratch, it will also be the default columns that turn on. So let's just go ahead and close this. So I'm going to apply a template that I've already created, which is my company template. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to show you some other things within Worksheet that I think are important to you. So first things first, let's go ahead and take a look at how we option. Okay, so once I turn that column back on, what I'm going to do to select finishes is I'm going to simply select on the icon. It's a paint palette, so once I select that paint palette, it's actually going to bring up the 2020 options dialog. So I'm able to go in here and begin picking finishes. So we're just going to do I'm just going to do some defaults here. Now, if there are any upcharges with any of my option selections, those would appear in the list and add those to your base list price. So let's just do very quickly. I've got default set on, so if one finish is applicable to the next, it will apply those for me. If I have anything that might be missing in the example of this work surface, because I was originally doing frames, then it'll come up and ask me to finish selecting anything that might be missing. So we'll just do a tan, and I'm going to go ahead and finish. So I did select finishes for all of the items that are not blue. You'll notice now I have a preview of that item. I have a check mark that tells me that that item is complete. There are no more finishes that need to be applied. You'll notice with the columns I've turned on, I have a list price, purchase, sell. These are everything I need in order to put a proposal together for my customer. So a couple things here. If I want to add additional charges to my worksheet, basically that affect the bottom line, such as, let's say, sales tax, maybe some freight, design fees, I actually use something called price adjustments to add those to my worksheet. Now I can add those price adjustments through the worksheet properties and make them part of my standard template so that they're there anytime I open up a worksheet, or I can actually simply insert a price adjustment. So beyond adding price adjustments, let's take a look at some things such as applying a discount. Applying a discount, I can do it sell plus, sell minus. If I know what I need my margin to be, I can also put that information in. My purchase price is your cost. So this is basically what you're going to be purchasing from the manufacturer for. The little arrow here to the right allows me to put a tiered discount in. So if I'm getting, let's just say 50 and 5, it will automatically calculate what that is for me. I can go ahead and say OK. Also, I can use discount criteria. So if I'm working on a large project with multiple manufacturers, I can apply discounts specifically to certain manufacturer codes or line items and so forth. So I'm just going to apply this to the whole thing, and I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So you'll notice once I apply that, we have our list. Based on the information I put in, this is our purchase. In order to make that margin that I put in, this is what we need to sell it for. Once I've applied finishes, any price adjustments, calculated my pricing, then I need to be able to put this worksheet together as a quote for the client. Obviously, they don't want to see, or we don't necessarily want to share the information that's on the screen. So I'm able to set up report designs or report templates that will specify exactly what it is that I want to show within that report. So under report designs, there is a set of default reports. You have an editing tool that allows you to go in and actually edit all these report designs so that you can do things such as put in your own logo. You can have it pull in build to, ship to, all of that type of information. So for this example, I'm just going to go ahead and do one that I already have preset. So I've got my logo or my company information. If you wanted to add a quote number, you can do that. As I said, build to, ship to. In this case, it's showing just certain information based on the way that I had it, my template set up. If you don't want to show all the finishes, you can certainly do something like that. If you want to show that little product preview that was in there, you can also do things like that. So it's completely up to you how you want to set these up. The one nice thing with the report templates and the actual worksheet templates themselves, once you set them up, these can actually be shared within your organization. So the final step in all of this is to visualize. So if I go to visualization, I'm going to go ahead and select entire design, and I'm going to tell you guys this isn't going to be pretty, but I'll show you one that's a little bit better at the end here. So our step one was do the space plan. Once the space plan is done, we go into worksheet. We put everything together in our worksheet. We do our finishes, we do our pricing, price adjustments, anything that we need to make an accurate quote for a customer. We then use the report templates in order to put a nice face on everything and put everything together the way that you like it. Once the worksheet is done with all the specifications, I can then click a button and go into visual impression. Once inside of visual impression, this is where I can make everything pretty. Okay, so here's what we drew inside of 2020 CAP. This would be the same in Giza. This would be the same in CAP Complete. Okay, so once inside of here, visual impression allows us to work basically with three activities. I'm either going to work with material, I'm going to work with the room itself, or work on the presentation side. Materials would be the room. So if I were to select on a floor, my menu appears here and I can change what's on the floor. I do have some default finishes that are in here. There's wood, tile, stone, granite, whatever you want to put on here. So if you want it just in white space, you might just want to put granite on the floor. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and do carpet. I can click on a wall. When I select a wall, I also get the menu. It changes slightly because I can do colors on the wall. So if I want to do a little more brown, just do a little lighter. If I want an accent wall, I can actually uncheck apply to all walls, and I can have one wall that's entirely different from the other. So let's just go ahead and put it all at the same here. Ceiling too, I can click the ceiling. I can give it a color. I can put ceiling tiles. I can put my own finishes on. So we have palettes. Palettes are what are designed to be your own palette of finishes. Okay, you can set up multiples. What's nice is if you have specific finishes you like to use, you can set up a palette and use them over and over again. As an example here, I have one that's all just flooring that I brought in. Images can be, downloaded from a manufacturer's site, or you can find them anywhere you can find them on the internet. You can certainly bring them down and actually apply them and use them. Oh, that was not supposed to be my floor. Let's go back over here and change that again. It's very easy to change. Once if you make a mistake, it's very easy to fix. So let's go ahead and click that floor again. So I'm going to select the floor, go to palettes. Going to go in here to flooring, and let's just use this one. Okay, it's that easy. So once we have all of our finishes selected for the floor, we're good to go. Or the floor, the wall, ceiling, whatever. The nice thing is too, I can come in here and I can at any point in time change finishes on the manufacturer specific furniture objects that are in here. As an example, I did a grade 1, but if I want to go in here and change it to a blue, I can certainly do that. If I don't want to save it, I'm just going to hit the undo. Okay. So if I were to change finishes, I do have the ability to go in here and apply, and I can apply it back to worksheet, and those finishes will be updated. If I wanted to save different colorways for my customer to show them different options, I can actually save a copy of the worksheet. So I could have one in this tan, and then I could also have one available in blue. So let's talk just a little bit about room. When I go to room, these are things that I can do. I can add doors, windows, additional architecture, lights, finishes. There's a whole bunch of extras I can work with, um, such as monitors on the wall or artwork that I can put my own images in. You could do all of that through the room activity. From the top view, you can see I do have the square room that I selected. I can change that room size, but it also allows me to, as I said, if I wanted to insert doors, any of that stuff here, I can certainly do all of that at this point. My side 2D is my elevation view, and my 3D view will take me back to where I was. By the way, all the architecture you can apply finishes to also. So right now we're working in standard quality. We do have a hidden line. So if I want to make this part of my presentation, I'm going to hit the little camera, and that camera is going to begin to build a roll of film for me. And then from there, I can actually save those images and send them to a client. I have an HQ, which is going to be my first level high quality. Works very quickly. And then if I want to go to an HQ, which would kind of be what I would assume would be your final presentation to the customer, then you do the HQ Plus. The HQ Plus takes a little bit longer, but what it's doing is it's softening some of these shadows that we see here, because the shadows are quite sharp, and so they soften them so that they're a little bit more like the eye would actually see. As hopefully you can see, as the HQ Plus runs, the softening of the shadows. So once this is done, I'm going to take a snapshot. So now that I've done a couple snapshots, I have finishes in here. What would be one of my last steps that I can do within visual impression? Well, under presentation, what I'm going to see are all the screenshots or the snapshots that I've taken. It will provide me also, once I update all the items, product previews. I'm also going to see swatches for all of the finishes that I used, and then also anything that I might have used in the room. So the whole idea behind the presentation side of visual impression is not to dictate how you want to present. So I can take any of these objects and drag them into another tool. In this case, I'm just going to use PowerPoint. So I'm going to drag and drop. And then from here, it simply becomes your PowerPoint skills. So I can go back to visual impression, and if I want to include my frame, then I'm simply going to come back here and add that. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this, and we're going to close out of visual impression. As I said, if I go back here to materials, this is how we're going to get back to our main screen. If I were to hit this apply button, that means the next time that I open up this worksheet, everything that I've done in here is going to be saved. So let's close out of that, and we'll just pop back here to AutoCAD for a moment, or to CAP. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to go to worksheet, and let's go back into worksheet, and we're going to look at one that I have already done, because I wanted to give you one last look at visual impression. Let's go ahead and do this one. This has all been put together, so that's why I wanted to kind of show you guys what this was and what is actually possible within inside of visual impression. So we're just going to let this load for a minute. And once that's done, you're going to see everything that I've already done in here. So I'm going to go ahead, and all of your snapshots that you took, these are actually saved positions. So if you have a particular angle or whatever that you like to work with, you can just go ahead and click on it and it'll return back to whatever that setting was. So I'm just going to go ahead and let this do an HQ rendering, but you can see there's a lot I can do with it. This was done completely in visual impression. I can put finishes outside the window. I can add a staircase. I can put different types of floor covering on. So it's not just a solid floor. I can use basically these are rugs that I put down in order to do that. So adding this to any presentation can really be a game changer. So this, along with the information from your worksheet, and you've got a nice presentation that you can present to that customer. If you need any more information, you can go to 2020spaces.com or you can reach our inside sales group at 1-800-227-0038.